So in the last class, we looked at flow creation, and I mean, especially we focused mostly on the flows. As I said, the workflows and process builders are going to go away. So that's why the flows are going to be very critical. And there may be a lot of projects. The admins would be working, converting all those flows and process builders into workflows and process builders into flows. And potentially Salesforce is expecting, I mean, they are trying to give us a utility, or they usually call those things as a migration tool. And so we need to use that migration tool, convert all the flows and process builders, workflows and process builders into flows. And then we might need to go through a lot of regression testing and all. So then eventually we'll deploy those to production. And so as we have seen the flows, there are multiple ways you can use the flows. There are auto launch flows, there are screen flows, and there are record trigger flow. And the way flows can be distributed directly as you are creating a record, you can or update a record, you can fire a flow, or you can use in actions, or you can even put them in the utility bar. So especially for service console scenario. And we briefly looked at how to launch flow in the console app. And also we were able to pull that flow that we created into the Lightning record page. Various ways you can distribute the flow, and various ways you can use the flow. So that is key. And pretty much everything that you can do with Apex can be achieved with the flow. But as you are writing lots and lots of code in the flow, I mean, configuring the flow, it becomes at one point of time it becomes used. So you have to give proper names when you are creating the flows. I mean, when you are pulling those elements onto the flow screen. So for maintenance point of view, it will become easier later. And also I gave a lot of material from Trailhead that talks about all these flows. And I mean, if you maybe the other way is maybe Kishore and others. So go through those YouTube videos. I think the guy, so so he has put together quite a lot of details, how to use variables and all that stuff. So that one definitely will be useful, I think. Try that one. So maybe first go through those videos, then try to go through those Trailhead things for practice. At least that way it will slowly sink in. I mean, it will definitely take some time. Even for a developer, I mean, especially for a developer, when we see the flow, by the time you create a flow, you can also write that Apex. So I mean, that's how I see. But over the time, as you get comfortable, it will be easy, I think. Initially, it might look a little overwhelming compared to workflows and process builders. But since Salesforce is moving in the direction of flows, there is no other way for us. If at all we want to be admins, we definitely need to focus and put in some effort on flows. Okay. So, I mean, now moving on. So, I mean, these are all the automations that we are talking last 3-4 classes. And on the sales and marketing side, so there is another automation that we can do, especially with leads. Potential, I mean, the way you have seen when a customer calls, or maybe when the seller is going on site, on the road, if at all they see some customer, and if they see if the customer is expressing some interest in our products, we can create something like a lead. So that will that we can our team, the company's the sales team can follow, and potentially can create opportunities, and so can even create these leads into accounts. so that they can sell to those customers. So we have to somehow automate all this process, because as let's say when we go to some trade show or something, or maybe our company puts up a trade show, and a lot of customers would come, and they may or may not be our customers at that time, because it is a trade show booth. Anyone can walk in, so we just need to take their information, take what is their interest, and what they are looking at, and then so our sales team can follow up with those guys. So let's say that is the scenario, and we want to automate that one. So that is one scenario. And the other scenario is we don't want to take a lot of calls. We don't want to, our employees don't want to put in all these things into the system. But if any customer goes to our website, and if at all they fill in some form, and if we can push all those all that information into Salesforce, and if at all we are able to assign those leads into proper sales team, then that becomes very automation, big time automation. So now we are not spending a lot of time going to those customers. The customers are coming to our website and they're filling some form, and we can follow up with them easily. So that's the scenario. So he wants us to build that process. So he wants us to do a lead automation. Potentially, when someone goes to our website, we need to capture that lead, and we also need to route those leads to proper teams. And also we want to give them some lead number and those things. That way, if at all they have more questions, they can, when they call us, we can potentially answer those guys. And a lot of things, there are a lot of moving parts here. And also when the leads are created, when sales team is working on them, they can convert leads into accounts, contacts, or opportunities. So all of this we can look into how we can do this automation. Let's go. So before we move into the system, so any questions on the scenario that we are trying to do? Should be straightforward. Someone goes to website and we capture that information, we route to our sales team, and our sales team should be able to create account and contact. So the basic thing is Salesforce has given something called the Web2 lead. And also before we configure that stuff, let's say if the customer says, okay, the website, anyone can access the website. If the customer, let's say this website is international, and customers can log in, are coming into our website from any country. And if they say, okay, hey, I'm from US, potentially the lead should be sent over to the US sales team. And if the lead is from some Asia, so we should be able to route that lead to some Asian team. So that's the thing. So for that, we need to use something called queues. And for the queues, we assign people. So those are the moving parts. Let's start with queues. First, we need to create queue. And we can name those queues as US, and so let's let's call this queue US, maybe marketing or something. Yeah, let's just give US queue. And supporting object is key here. So since we are going to deal with leads, so we will give lead object. What it is going to do, it creates a queue, and so we can assign the lead records to this queue. And the queue, it will hold the records, and whoever is assigned to those that queue, so they should be able to work on those queues. So let's say role and subordinates, and we know we have these VP, did we create US ones? It should be US, yeah, US sales director. So we are doing three things here. So one is we create a queue called US, and we are assigning lead object. Basically, all the leads, all US leads, we can push it to this queue, and then we are assigning all the US users under this queue. So similarly, let's do some maybe another queue. Let's select lead object. And let's take some Asia Pacific ones. So we created two queues that can handle leads. In our intention is US will take care of US related leads, and APAC queue will handle APAC queues. And so then so when a lead is created, so we need to assign those the leads to these queues. So we have something called the lead assignment rule. So this one, you simply create a name and you just activate it at any point of time. You can only have one assignment rule. So I just use this guy. And here we need to create all these entries. So the rule entries, and this is the assignment rule. So when a record is created, so this is the one that will say how that lead will be routed. And on the lead record, we also created some custom field region, and let's use that one. And so if it is US, so we will select US and we will assign it to queue. So here is the queue, and here we will say, so the US key. And so what we are saying, whenever a lead is created, and if the leads region is US, we want to assign it to the US queue. And let's also create another one for APAC. Yeah, so like this, you can create as many queues as you want. I believe Salesforce has maybe 2000 limit or something, but that should be good enough. Okay, so we created a lead assignment rule, and we created rule entries, and it will the way it looks at it is the moment it finds a matching rule, it will basically exit the it will assign that queue and it will exit it. And if it doesn't find, it will go to the next one, next one, next one. So that's why this order is very important. And so yeah, so that should be good. So first is someone goes to yeah, we need to enable some Web2 lead and all. So we are setting we are doing some prerequisite steps. So now we also want to let's go to Web2 lead. So this is where we have to enable Web2 lead first. So by default, you won't see this one. So if you go in your system, so first time when you go, so basically it will be disabled. You just enable this guy, and also you have to create default lead creator. The way we assign leads, so when we started, by default, we are assigning some queues. So let's say if the lead assignment rules don't match anything, at least at that time it will use this default lead creator. That's why this one is important. And if you want to route this to some other user, you can potentially use another user also. Yeah, it only takes the user, not the queue. Okay. So now we created, we enabled Web2Lead, but we need to have some URL or something or some HTML form so that we can paste it into our website. Or we can, for this scenario, since we don't have any website, we can simply create HTML, generate HTML, use it standalone. So, I mean, we can select the fields that whatever we want to show to the user when the user goes to that page on the lead record. So basically, whatever we have, we can add all those fields. And since we are writing our assignment rules, that's why I pulled this region field. And since it is a pick list value, and for the user end user, when the form is generated, you will see some pick list options here from our system. And if at all you want to control with those captchas, I mean, so that the user can, I mean, to make sure it is not system generated, and someone don't bombard a lot of leads into our system, so we can enable this for safety. But for now, I think we can take it easy on that. So now we are adding, we created a form. I mean, it is going to generate a form for us, some HTML, and with these fields. So let's generate this guy. And this is the HTML. If you see here, basically there are some hidden fields. And this guy is potentially should be our organization ID. I mean, I think that should be our company ID.
What is the return URL?
Once you enter the information where it should take you to. If you have your website, or if you want them to allow them, if you want them to navigate to different site, you can use that one. Yeah, you'll see that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so that is this guy. So that OOD thing, that is, so basically this is how, I mean, this is the URL. So when you hit submit, you enter the information, you hit submit. So this is it is going to make a call, a REST call to this guy, and it has to know which Salesforce arc the information has to send. That's why these fields are there. And so this is the return URL. So once you hit submit, where it should take you to, that's the thing. And if you see here, these are the fields that we selected: first name, last name, email, company, city, state. And here the region fields, since we in the backend we created this APAC, EMEA, US, and LTAM, all that stuff. That's why it is putting all those things. So now we just need to select this guy and finish. And so we have all the HTML now. So in my so I just need to open some HTML. I mean the text pad, and I can enter this information. So this is the HTML. When I'm saving this guy, so potentially I just need to save this guy as HTML. Save. So I also need to give this HTML. Once I give that one, so basically it will save the document. Okay. So now we got that HTML. Now let's go back to here. So this is the HTML thing. So now if I click on this guy, it will open HTML, and here we can enter the information. So let's say so this is the region that is very important. So I select US as region, I submit it. So once we submit, so this is the return URL. So it is taking us to the Salesforce website because we gave Salesforce as the return URL. And we created a lead. I mean, this should have created a lead into Salesforce by now. So basically what we have done, so someone goes to, I mean, since we picked some standalone HTML, we can place this HTML into any company's website. So, I mean, when the customer goes there or when someone visits our website, so if they click and enter that information, so that will automatically capture here. Yeah, so this is the one we just created. So we got this Jan Smith and all the company, and we also got the region. So region, yeah, region, it is captured US. So all the information that they entered in the website, so we were able to capture that information. So we got all that stuff. Now a sales user and also let's see Q, the owner. Okay. Yeah, lead owner you see here. So this is set as US. So that is, I mean, this is a queue. Yeah, I'm not going to change it. So just to show so this is a queue. This is not individual user. So let me, so it assigned whatever we wanted it to be assigned as. So we created assignment rule. So, and the assignment rule is if the region is US, so assign it to US user. And also, I mean, when you go here, the way the US users, so all of them will be assigned to the US queue. And if you see the configuration of the queue, so let's see. And filter by owner. So this is the queue. So basically queue owned, and whatever the leads that are owned by the queue that we just created. So those leads, I mean, you can see all those things, and all the US related users. So since did we sharing settings? Yeah, we can also control these queues. Saying okay, role and subordinates. Let's see, yeah, role and subordinates and the US. So if we do that, potentially only this queue, this list view will be only visible to these guys. So that way, I mean, the Asia Pacific users, when they go to leads, they won't see this thing, and only the US folks will see, because I'm system admin, I'm able to see. But if it is regular user, they won't be able to see these things. So that's how, I mean, we were able to automate this end to end. So when customer goes in, they fill in some information. We were able to create a lead, and we were also able to assign this lead to some queue. And whoever is assigned to that queue, when they log in, so they should be able to see this, and they should be able to convert it into lead, I mean, account. So once they see this guy, so potentially there is this convert button. So what it does when they click on this one, so it will convert this lead into account, and also it will create into a contact. So since we entered a company as SG, so it takes that one. And the name we entered John Smith, that's why it is taking John Smith as contact, and so other information. And if at all we want to add more, maybe if we want to change the name and also you can you will be able to change those things here. And so for region field is a custom field. That one, if at all we want to copy those custom field values, there is little setup that we need to do. So only on the lead object, you will see this thing map lead fields. So it will say from lead region field, I already set up as it should be mapped to account region field. And so same thing, if at all there are more custom fields, we can map those. So since on the lead object, in this arc, we have only one custom field, that's why we are seeing only one. But if you have more fields, and if you have a need to map that one field to different fields, you should be able to map it here. And that one immediately when you convert here, so here we map this region field since we already did. When we convert this guy, so immediately it will copy that region field onto the account. So let's simply convert it. Yeah, so this is the region field that automatically copies over. I mean, pretty much everything declaratively we were able to do from someone going to website and creating that lead and routing that lead and then converting that lead into opportunity and contact. So any questions there? I mean, this is on the sales side of automation, sales and marketing.
So Srikanth, so so say assume that you have 100 or 2000 or whatever it is, like a huge number of leads being ingested into the system via this process. Is there a way we can see whether like queues process one at a time, or depending on number of depending on the volume of the records it processes it, right? So can we see a record being stuck in a queue? This way we know if there is anything like now we have to troubleshoot. Is there a way to hold the record in the queue?
There is no way to hold. I mean, especially in cloud systems, you cannot really hold in between. Even when you are trying to create a lead, if it takes more than, I believe, 10 seconds, so Salesforce will times it out. So because it is a shared environment, they can't let you hold any information. So the queue, I mean, I think you are asking, so the information comes and sits in the queue.
Right.
Okay, and you will see all those waiting ones in the queue here. And since I mean that one, since we took the ownership and we converted that one is gone from here. Let's say you created 1,000 leads and all of them will come sit here. Okay. And then whoever is assigned to that queue, so we assigned all these sales users, right? So to the queue in the backend. So those guys, their job is to come check this list view and see, okay, if there are 1,000, maybe they will pick some of those leads and they start converting them. But while it is coming from website to Salesforce, you cannot stop. So I mean,
okay, the only reason why I'm asking is like if says by mistake you did something.
If it errors out, what will happen basically? it will hit the system, then you have to start debugging. I mean, you put usually all these leads. Let's go back to the lead that just created. So it will be created by a user called let's actually create one more. The created user will be automated process or some different user, and we can start debugging based on that user.
Okay.
So yeah, maybe this time we'll give APAC. I mean, just so that okay, so this one should be going to APAC queue. So this one came and it sits, and obviously this one we will be assigned to the Asia Pacific users.
Mm-hmm.
And so sorry, what were we talking for this lead? Yeah, the created by user. Yeah, so the created by user, I think whoever creates this lead process, it will be on their name. Looks like default created by user. That's the one we set, right? Yeah, when we were setting this lead process, web to lead settings. So we can put debug logs on the created user, and so we can yeah, see here default lead creator. So since my name was given, so that's why it is using that name. So let's see if we can, I mean, obviously when we change this guy to some other user, and if that user, I mean, we need to make sure that user has lead create thing, and then it will create on that name. Yeah, so this user, I mean, the user should have modify all access and also send email permission. I mean, it is stopping right here. There are user permissions. I mean, if we assign modify all for Connor, and we should be able to place him. And typically we create some automation user or some system user, and we give default modify all access to that user, and we will assign that user. Otherwise, let's say if I am the system admin today, and I'm working for Crestsoft, and the moment I leave the company, and they will deactivate my user. Once they deactivate the user, and when someone goes to the website, and if they try to create the lead, it will fail because that user is inactive, and it won't be able, inactive user won't be able to create any records in Salesforce. So that's why it will stop right there. So those are some things that we need to keep in our mind when we do these settings. So always give a system user, not the individual user, and give proper permissions to that user, so that there won't be any issue in future.
Thanks.
And let's see. I mean, I did not set any auto assignment rules. I think so. just trying to look up my emails. I think, yeah. Yeah, Jan Smith and James Finn. So these are the two leads that we created. And basically it also sent some emails saying, okay, hey, you created some lead, we will get back to you. And this is because I think when we set up this Web2 lead, somewhere we also selected that default template here. So default response template, Web2 lead email template. Because of that, it sends those emails. And if at all we want to change any wording or anything, you can create those, and we can basically use a different template. So that's Web2 lead. I mean, similarly, Web2 lead, I mean, there is Web2 case. It follows the same thing. One is creating, I mean, if someone is inquiring for some product information, and also we can use Web2 lead. Or if someone is someone tries to say, okay, hey, there is a problem with the product, or maybe some issue with their with the stuff that they bought, and they can instead of calling our customer service, they can go to our website and they can place I mean, they can write something, and we the same like how we did on Web2 lead, this one will also route similarly, but this one will go to the case object, and it will create a case, and we can do the same thing. We can assign queues, and we assign the assignment rules. If it is product related, we can send maybe product queue. If it is inquiry, so we can create inquiry queue. So like that, we can assign users, and those users will be responsible for answering those the Web2 cases. It will be the same thing. It generates the HTML, and the HTML we will place it onto the website at a different place. Yeah, I think you can try this guy. It will be on the same lines. You create queues, you do assignment rules. You can also do, yeah, the auto response ones. Yeah, pretty much same thing here. Any questions there? So, I mean, I just want to, I mean, we wanted to go through these, the essential one. So we are almost done with pretty much everything what we wanted to cover. And so this is the last piece on the cases. So potentially how we looked at pretty much everything on the Sales Cloud. And this is a little different console that we will use for customer service, just to make them a little more productive. And also for the cases, the like we create this support process. We will do some automation so that we can see now. So first thing is console. I believe we looked at the console app in the last class at the end. I created some console app last. Oh no, I'm in wrong arc. Yeah, so this is the console app that we created. Just so you see the difference between this guy and the other ones, I will open the sales app. Yeah, both are Lightning apps. So the interface, as you can see, so it is little different for the console app. And so this is the utility bar that I was talking. So if you click on this guy, so I mean central place, if you want to access something, you can put on the utility bar and you can access them. And I think with the latest one, recent releases, so even on the sales console, you can do the utility bar. But if you see here, as I'm opening, I mean, the tabs are in here. So all the cases, these are all you can close, and this will become the entire wide open area, and you can even close this guy. And now if at all you want to open any accounts, you go here. Whereas the service one, the sales one, everything is horizontal here. And whereas here, so you have to go pick that guy, and so you can open account, and then it will open as one tab. And if at all you want to go find another account, you can go find that account. So it will open multiple tabs. Whereas in here, so let's say if you open one account, so that will stay there until you open another tab. Let's say I looked at this account. I want to look at the contact. Okay, there are no contacts here. Let's go back here. So let's say this AMP Industries, there is John Smith. We start with the account, and it opens one account. And the moment I try to look for contact details, it overwrites the thing. And if at all I want to go back to that account, I have to basically either go back to the account tab or maybe click on this guy. That's how I can navigate. And if I want to look for some opportunity, I have to go different place. Whereas here in the service console, if you want to look at contacts, and when you look at this contact, it will stay there, and it is easy for you to navigate between the tabs here. So whereas you don't have to do a lot of back tab in the sales console. So that is they will make it very easy for you with the on the service console app. And also when we open any of these, so you can split this area into multiple sections, and that also will become very easy for navigation and see the information. Yeah, you can split all these things into different sections. So yeah, let's I don't want to do the web2 case because it follows the same lines as the lead. Maybe we will see how we can do a couple of things you can do. So you can do charts with Salesforce on the service side. Potentially when someone goes to your website, you can bring up that chart. Do you want to chart with us? Once they click on that one, so potentially they can enter their information and the charts can be routed. And if there is any real agent available in Salesforce, they can chat with that customer. So that is one thing that you can do with Salesforce. And the other one is, let's say instead of going to their our website, someone wants to send us an email. At that time, we can expose support at Crestsoft, some crestsoft.com. So if they can send an email, we can route that email to Salesforce, and we can have some users assigned to some queues, and those users can work on those cases and reply back to that customer. So that's how, on the service side, you can do Web2 case if anyone wants to go to our website and fill in some information. And if they want to email us, so we can provide a way for them using email to case. And if they want to chat with us, you can potentially do the chat. And the Salesforce also have phone thing. and it is not out of the box available. So we may have to, the customer may need to buy some additional licenses, and then you can implement CTI when the call comes in. So basically you can route the call to Salesforce, and so based on the phone number, if there is a contact available with the same number, automatically it will pop that contact, and so you can confirm that contact, and you can create cases or maybe support the customer. So like that, there are various scenarios available on the service side. And also when we get the cases either through email or to Web2 case, we can tell them, okay, hey, if you are so and so, I mean, if you're a platinum customer, maybe we can respond to you within 1 or 2 hours. If you are a regular customer, maybe within a day we can respond. We can do all those rules inside Salesforce using some escalation rule, I mean, on the entitlement process and all. So you can assign some SLAs. So like that, there are quite a number of options are there. So, but what we can do, so let's look at some escalation process, how we can do escalations. So let's assume that we created a case through some process. Maybe in this case, we can directly create a case. And when the case is created, if it is not closed for about maybe 24 days, I mean 24 hours or something, we should be able to escalate that case to some queue and set some status as a high or something. So let's see that scenario. So for that, we can go to escalation rules. So we need to, I mean, everything is we need to set up some rules. So that is the plain one. So now we need to go inside and we have to add some rules. It will be the same. So everywhere, I mean, either it is a lead or all the assignment rules and everything follows the same thing. All these rules that you can do, again, you can put in some complex scenarios here. And if you want, you can add some different formulas. I mean, these are, you should be correlate these with the validation rules and all. So it should be the same format. I mean, in this one, if it becomes true, then it will execute. Typically, you can use one of these criteria. So let's say case and okay, so case is let's so what I'm saying, so if the case is, I mean, we have a case and this is the escalation criteria, how the escalation will happen. When the case is created, and if the case status is not closed, I mean, let's say when we create a case, obviously it will be at a stage of maybe open or new. So that will meet our criteria here. And also when the status is created, and maybe we can use this guy and disable after case. Yeah, okay, we can take that guy. And if we want to assign any business hours and also we can assign those business hours, but in our case, we don't need business hours. Okay, maybe on the case, whatever business hours will be in default, whatever it is assigned, so it will take. So we created a simple escalation rule. When the case, as soon as case is created, and if the case is not closed, so basically that's when this rule will fire. And so how when do we want to create the escalation? So we don't want to create escalation immediately. Maybe we need to give the user maybe a couple of some time, so that he can close it. Let's say after 1 hour. This is 1 hour, and then if you want to add any minutes, you can add those. And queue, so let's say if you want to reassign the case, typically when the case is created, it will be assigned to the individual who created the case. And now what we are saying, after 1 hour, we want to escalate this case to so and so person. And if we want to assign any individual user, we can assign those. And when we are notifying, when we are changing the queue, so it will notify them. And if at all we want to fire any further process, we can either use flows, or we can use process, the Apex, to do some more additional logic. Yeah, for time being, I'll pick something. We have to create some template, and then we can add those. Those templates we can create by going into classic templates. Yeah, so we can create those templates, and then we can use it here. So now let's go back and create one case. So the criteria is we shouldn't be setting this one to closed. If we set that one, basically it will move out of that one. So case origin, let's say call, and I believe that's the only criteria. So so this one immediately change to what is the assignment rule? So let's deactivate. So I assume this assignment rule might have fired, and it immediately changed the owner of the queue from myself to that queue. So I just deactivated it. It shouldn't assign that one. Let's create one more. So now the case owner is myself. Since the assignment rule is inactive, so that didn't fire. And we have this one. The status is new. And to check these guys, let's see escalations. So we can monitor these guys here. So you see here, so after 1 hour, so the escalation action is this guy. And let's look at the case number here, 1025, 1026. So those are the two cases that we created. and since their status is in progress, so the new for both of them, so we are able to see them there. And after 1 hour, what is going to happen? So these, especially this one, already has the case, the queue owner has assigned as queue, and especially this guy, after 1 hour, some process will fire automatically, and it will change the owner of this queue from myself to the product tier 1. So and also this one automatically will be set to escalated. So that's how some automation, basically we give some time to the agent, and if the agent is able to close it, that's fine. If the agent is not able to close it, it will stay in that escalation queue and it will automatically get escalated. So just to see this guy, here you are seeing 2, and now if at all we go back for 1025, and let's say if we change this guy's status to closed, and we are saying, okay, it is going out of that rule criteria that we set. Now if we search for this guy, yeah, that one will automatically gone. So that one is not eligible for escalation because we gave 1 hour time for the user, and the user was able to close it automatically by himself, and so we remove that escalation on that case. That's how we can do a lot of automation. We don't want a customer to wait because of agents unavailability. So that's why we do these escalations. And in the service scenario, so these are very common, and we may be doing quite a bit like these things.
So first it gets assigned to the agent, and if the agent doesn't respond within an hour, it goes back to the queue, right?
Yeah, that's how we set up the escalation.
Yeah, and then who picks it up from the queue? How does it?
Yeah, for the queue again, so so for the queue, whatever this queue, let's go back. This queue. So let's look at the queue. On the queue, we assign users.
Okay.
So, and also as you see there, so I also assigned some notification to Nova. So Nova will also get an email. We won't do that for everything. So, but the expectation is someone will be assigned to the queues, and their responsibility is to check these queues periodically. And that is periodically is very dangerous term. If someone won't go to the list view and they won't click refresh, potentially even assigning all those cases to the queue is not going to help us. So for that, there is another automation. So this is where all these users are available, and they can go to those list views. And so if we go to cases, so based on this queue name, case queue name, so there will be one list view, and they will be looking at this list view. So this guy, so basically so their responsibility is to check this list view, and they have to close this. And they typically the moment they open this guy, and they can change the owner. So maybe I think this accept button should be to change the ownership. The case ownership is from individual to from queue to individual. So that way this one will go out of the queue. So earlier 19 was here. So 19 is gone. So you can also do accept here. So that, it will take the ownership from the queue. It will transfer over to you, and from there onwards, it will be your responsibility.
So when the case initially gets opened, it will be assigned to the person itself, right?
There are two things. So it all depends on how we did the assignment rules. I mean, as you have seen, so there was an assignment rule. The moment I created the case, immediately it went back to the queue. So that's when I went back and deactivated that assignment rule. So it all depends on how we configure the system. If we put in a assignment rule, so basically it will take care of, it will automatically take that time. And so even, okay, now we are on lead. I mean, typically you see these guys on the page layout, you can enable this, use assignment rule. And if we select that one, so if at all there is any assignment rule, I mean, when I create this lead, since I selected US, and it will look at the assignment rule. If there is anything for US, and it will automatically take and it will assign this owner as the US queue. If I don't select this guy, so basically it will simply go through it and it will not assign that guy. But for cases, let's look at cases. Yeah, it all depends on how we configure the system. So here, I think it by default it fired that one. So the assignment rule and it assigned. Okay.
So, sorry, quick question. We did not have any assignment rule to start with, right? Like not the first case, like in the second case. So
the second case means we deactivated it, right?
Right, we deactivated and we created the case. So at that point, when we created the case, it will be on whoever created it, he will be the owner of the case, correct?
That's right.
And then if I mean, like, what is the expectation? Like, you know, if how do I put it? So the case is usually created by a customer, right?
Okay, I mean, depends on how, let's say if customer calls us, at that time, contact center agent will pick up the call and he says, okay, I have this problem, or maybe I want some quote. That's how they ask. Okay, then if they say I have some inquiry, so potentially they create a case, and I mean, you have to log something when customer calls in, because you need to know why the customer called you, right? So that's where you create a case and you say, okay, hey, customer called, and you said, okay, the channel is phone, and you put subject saying customer called for inquiring some products or something, or maybe you will say customer wanted a quote for this product. Typically, when they say quote, either if it is very simple process, you will generate the quote and you will give them the quote price. But typically it will take time to generate code. At that time, what you will say, okay, hey, I got your email, so maybe let me work on it offline and I will send you the code to your email address. And at that time, you open a case, you put the case in progress status, and you are the owner of that. And let's say if you take 1 hour, and if the assignment rules are I mean, escalation rules are done, maybe after 1 hour or every 30 minutes, it will check and it will take the ownership back. So because you created a case, you are working on it, maybe you may have gone home. Let's say your time is up. Okay, so at that time, customer won't want. We don't want to keep the customer waiting until next working day or until you are coming back as an agent. So we want to take that ownership of the case and assign it to somebody who is available, maybe who comes on the next shift. So that's where these escalations and change the ownership and to the queues will become handy. And the next person, they simply come and check, okay, hey, what's happening? Maybe if there is a coding system, if this guy already started some process, and if they come back to you saying, okay, hey, the code for this product is so and so, and you can simply send that code information to that customer, so that whether you are working on the agent one, so maybe the other agent can pick it up and serve the customer.
Sorry to ask too many questions. So assume that you have a 1 hour escalation period, and say a customer agent is working on it, and say even assume that he takes a little long. So at that point, while he's in the last stages of completing the case, the rule might have triggered and it might have gone to the queue. And what happens in that case? Does he have to go to the queue and then accept it again?
Yeah, so he has to find that case in the after escalation is over. I mean, if we say, okay, we can even simply mark that one as let's look at this guy. I don't think changing the queue is mandatory. We can keep the queue. If we want to keep the ownership for the same guy case. Yeah, I mean, let's say if you don't want to escalate it, you don't want to change the ownership. I mean, it is not mandating us to change the ownership, so you can still keep it if you want.
Okay.
And I mean, let's say in this case, if let's say if you're changing the ownership to other team, and you can say notify owner. I believe at this time what is going to happen, your first agent will lose the case ownership and he will get the notification saying, okay, hey, we change the ownership to the queue, and that's how the system will notify them. The earlier user will also be notified. The only thing is, if we send a lot of emails, I mean, it will be they're out. I mean, especially contact center agents, they will be working on cases left and right. I mean, we may be swamping their inbox. So that's why, I mean, sometimes it's better not to notify the users.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the escalation. I mean, we have looked at assignment rules, auto response. I mean, if we set up any auto response rules, basically system will send emails, especially in the email to case scenario, and also web to case scenario. So we can send yeah, we can use these guys. I mean, especially for email to case scenario. And if we want to send any emails upon creation, so we can send some emails. I mean, it follows the same trend. You create some rule and you can have only one active auto response rule. And underneath that, you will create rule entries. So if it is product related information, so you can send one template, and if it is I mean inquiry related, you can use a different template. That's how you can send all these I mean, you can use email templates for different purposes. That's I mean, I'll send you some trailhead modules for these. So but I mean, that's how you use all these automations on the service side. And, what else? Yeah, maybe it will take little time. Maybe we can, okay, I think I enabled here auto omnichannel. Let's see. Yeah, maybe if it is everything is set up, I can show you this thing. So how we can send the charts. Let's see. I don't remember whether I set up this. So is this guy available? So the scenario is, let's say we want to allow some customers to chat with us. So again, same thing, we have to generate some snippet code. I mean, I did all this ahead of time. So we can enable chat from Salesforce R, and some sample code or some JavaScript code, if we can give it to our website team, and the website team can place it, and that way they can, the chat will be available for customer when the customer goes in, and all we have to make sure is the agents are available to take the chats. I mean, this is Omni Supervisor. I mean, you will actually, this one is very good one. Let me. So since I don't have any website, so I can create some Visual Force page, and I can fire charts from there. So okay, actually I have a page ready. So all we do is whatever the thing that I copied, I just have to create some Visual Force page. And I just need to paste this guy here. And so once I save it, and simply by if I say preview, and we are launching some URL basically. Once we have the URL, and here you see, so this is how typically when you go to any website, you will see some chart pop up, and you can enter your name. So basically, we are firing a chart from some website into Salesforce. I think I said this guy. Okay, you see here, I mean, I got the chart that is coming in. You also see here basically who is calling, and I mean, these are the information I entered on the other page, and it is coming here. So I can simply take the chart, and it opens up here, and so I can start chatting. So if I say any information, so where was the other screen? So, yeah, here. So we can fire chat. So, and also it is showing, okay, who is the agent that is working. And so here we can say, and immediately you see, okay, since when the chat is initiated, the on this page I entered myself as John, and you see John and what is the time that chat was sent, all that stuff. And so I mean, that way you can enable our contact center or customer service to help customers to chat with us. So we have seen how to send the leads automatically to from a website, and similarly we can do how to send uh, cases from website. We didn't do that, but it follows the same concept. And then I mean, there is another process we can enable for email to case. And then at the end, so we are looking at the chat. So like this, there are various ways to enable customer to contact the company through Salesforce. I mean, if you see here, even this one, it doesn't take much time to set up all this chart thing, and within maybe an hour or two, so you should be able to set up all these things, and you can enable customers to chat with you. And from here, I mean, if at all this agent wants to transfer this chart to somebody else, you can do that. And so if you want to enter any quick text, potentially you can, let's say there are, when the customer is ending the chat and you want to, I mean, your job is to make the agent more productive. If there is any repetitive text that the agent is needs to send, you can create them as quick tests, and they can quickly use those quick tests. So chat should be related to chat. Okay, so come with this guy. Closing. No, chart is already selected. Yeah, you can use some merge fields. So, I mean, from now onwards, all the agents should be able to use that quick text. When, let's say, the customer is ending the chart, so all they have to do is select that guy, and automatically it populates their name, and simply they can set this guy, and it will go to the customer. I mean, these are all various quick things that we can do. And you see, this is the section screen that I was talking earlier. There is this chat is happening, and if at all the customer is identified, I mean, based on their email address or based on the information that they provided, that customer information automatically will come here, and they see all this chat transcript details, and it will capture a lot of information, how much time the chat happened. So let's say we end this chat now. So the moment we end the chat, automatically it will end on the agent side. So you cannot send any more messages. So now let's say, and if I just reload the page, let me actually close and reopen this chart again. So all the chart will be, you can see it here, and you will see, okay, when the chart came in. So basically whether the customer has waited, how much time he waited, and how much time you chat with the customer. I mean, all these statistics, the management can use it, and if at all if they see that this customer is waiting for quite a long time, what that means, so the chat came in, the agents are not either ready or maybe they are busy. So because of those reasons, so they understand, okay, hey, we might need to add more users, like that. So they use those numbers to staff the users properly. So, I mean, this omni-channel is very powerful one. So, I mean, earlier what we said, okay, hey, when the users have to go watch the queue, and then when there is new case, either through lead or whether through web to case or email to case, it's the agents, they have to constantly refresh that list view. So whereas this guy, if you use this one, so basically as soon as a chart comes in, or maybe not only chart, chat is always real time. So, but when an email comes in, we don't want the agents to go refresh the screen. So if we use this guy, automatically it will say, okay, hey, an email came, and it will automatically push that email to available agent. So that's the power here. And you can automate big time using these things, and you can do a lot more things with omnichannel. Let's say there is a order related information that is coming in as part of some chat or maybe even through emails, and there is an inquiry one. So obviously order related one will be higher priority than the inquiry. At that time, what we do on the omni-channel level, we create something called priorities, and we can set, okay, if behind the scenes what will happen. So there will be a queue, and for the queues we give priority, saying, okay, if any work unit that comes to order queue, so let's give highest priority as one. And if it is maybe inquiry, let's give that one as 4. So that way, the number one, if there are multiple users that are waiting, I mean, working on the cases, and let's say there are 10 order related ones are waiting, and 10 inquiry related ones are waiting, even though the inquiry is came before order one, because we gave the priority for order as high. Even though it comes late, it will route the work to agent first. So that's how we can set the priorities, and we can control which goes to the agents first. I mean, for companies, we don't want agents to cherry pick anything. So if we ask them to go to list views and all, potentially they can pick easy ones, and if at all they see anything, some custom, some difficult ones, so they won't pick that one. So whereas this guy, it automatically push work to the agents, and there won't be any agents that can potentially misuse the system. So we can avoid those things. A very powerful one. So I mean, when you work on some customer service scenarios, you will work on these kind of scenarios quite a lot. I know that's a lot of information. So I mean, definitely flows and these guys are quite interesting ones, and also you will be working quite a lot on these things. I mean, if you work on sales side of the thing, you won't really get exposed to this service. But if you are working on service, typically you will see all these assignment rules, auto response, and also all these automations. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a lot to digest.
Yeah.
So hopefully you will be able to spend some time and practice those. I will send some trailhead modules.
Yeah, the flows definitely it's taking time. Like,
yeah, I mean, flows. I mean, definitely is a little confusing to start with, especially when you start working with the workflows and process builders. You feel like, okay, this is too much, but there is a lot of power. I mean, you can achieve quite a lot. Yeah, maybe they can make it little easy, but there is no escape. I believe I covered pretty much all I wanted to cover with all these things in the agenda that initially we planned for. Please go through these. Maybe if you have questions, we can regroup and we can talk about those. And the one thing that I haven't discussed typically that we need to, you really need exposure is the deployment thing. Let me see if something is available. Last time when we were talking about some deployment related stuff, I created a sandbox. I mean, this one is very old-fashioned way of doing deployment, but it gives you the concepts. So what we did back then, I created one sandbox, and this guy, I mean, the one that we started. So let's assume that this guy has a production system, and usually we do the other way. So you create sandbox, you start working in that sandbox, you do your changes, and then you deploy changes to production system. But what we did, most of our work we did in production. And in real scenario, so you won't be able to write any Apex classes or anything in production system. Those you have to do in lower systems, and you have to deploy. But declarative stuff you will be able to do in production also. So this option, let's say, so in production system, if you try to go create that Apex class, immediately it will say, hey, you cannot create classes in production. So these kind of things you have to do only in the lower systems. I mean, coming back to our discussion, there is a production system, there is a sandbox. I mean, the sandbox, we named it as dev, and we created this guy exactly 1 month ago. And so when we let's say when we want to deploy some changes from one system to other system, we have to make that connection. So we have to tell them, okay, this is a trust system. And the concept is for deployments, the simple one is the change sets, and you can use version controls and all. So so change set. So, so what we are doing here, so we are changing some deployment settings, and whenever if at all we make any changes in this system, and if we want to send those changes into this system, so we are asking, okay, we are setting it to allow. Basically, we are telling the production system to trust dev sandbox, so that we can make some changes there and we can deploy it. And now I need to remember how my password for this dev sandbox. Let's see. I mean, obviously, first we need to go into that sandbox. Yeah, this is the one I created. I don't know whether I set the password for this guy. So this is another sandbox. You see the URL, it is Crestsoft dev, and the other ones are just crush out lightning. So from this system, if at all we want to send any changes, we can send, or maybe in other ways, so we can take some changes from production to here. Basically, we can move the changes from both directions. So same thing here, we have to adjust some deployment settings. I mean, these are all one-time settings. So once we do this thing, you don't have to come do these things ever again, unless you are creating another stuff. So we are enabling both inbound and outbound, even in here. And let's go back to the other. Deployment here. Yeah, a few minutes, I think it will be over. So here it is dev system, and we are in production here, and here we are setting for production system. So from dev system, we are saying, okay, hey, we want to allow inbound. That means production system can send the changes, and we want to send the changes from this system to this system. Basically, that's what we are saying. And on the other side, from dev system, we are in production. We are saying, okay, hey, dev system can send changes to production system, and even if we want to send any changes from production system to lower system, we can send those. So let's go back and maybe create a small field or something, and we will try to deploy that to production. And we'll pick a case object. I mean, same thing, whether it is sorry. So let's create a formula field. So okay, we don't have region here. Okay, let's see. Uh, Yeah, I mean, since this one doesn't have the region field that we created, so let's use account rating, and we are populating onto the case the account rating field. So maybe we can just rename the. Yeah, I mean, it didn't like the quick list value as is, so it asked me to change I mean, use the formula. So we created a field. Now, if I go back, yeah, so I'm still in my dev system. I created a field. Now I can create a outbound change set. So and so here we will say, okay, where we want to send the case field. And here I can select, okay, what field that I want to send, since I created a custom field. And so yeah, so account rating, this is the one we created. We add that field to change set. So now we are all set. Basically we said, okay, now we need to upload. So when we are uploading, it will ask us to, I mean, if we want to give any field level securities also, you can give that. So potentially I say, okay, I want to give field level security to system admin, and I'm saying that. So it will change, I mean, it will take this account rating field on case object, and it also assign the field level security. I mean, that's the change that we are deploying. So now we need to create the connection. So basically we are saying, okay, we want to upload this change. So what we are saying, so from dev system, we make the change, and we already created those connections between so the dev system and production system. And now we uploaded a change set to production system. Now here, the administrator can deploy it. So now if we go back to production, so here under inbound, so there we did the outbound change set. So here we have to look at the inbound change set. You see here the change set. This is the, I mean, the one that we created here, the case field, the change set, and it came here, and it is ready to be deployed, and it came from Srikanth, and the source system is dev system. And so we can validate, and it will go through and it will check, okay, anything wrong with this guy and all. So if at all there are any Apex classes, we have to select those. But since it is just the declarative stuff, it should be fine here. We don't need to run any test classes. So basically it says validated and success. Now we can go back to that inbound change set again. So now we are in production. Basically we are saying, I want to accept that change. And now, I mean, at this point of time, if you go back to case and you don't see that account rating field on this case object, and once we start deployment, so you will see that one. Yeah, we don't have any of that field yet. So now I will say, okay, deploy it. So basically deployments, I'm accepting that change. So send me that change. So if we go here, yeah, deployment succeed. And now if we go back here, I mean, refresh this guy. So now, I mean, the same field that we created from dev system, it is deployed to production system. That's how you do the deployment. I mean, for all the objects that we created, the same thing. Basically, you have to select that object when we are creating the chain outbound chain set, and you deploy it. I mean, you upload it to the production. I mean, whatever the system that you want to send the changes to, and then you go to the target system. You basically validate it and then deploy it. So that's how you do that using the chain sets. With the chain set, the main thing is you can only send the changes between a related arcs. So let's say if you have some changes in your trailhead arc that you want to send to this training arc, you cannot do that because they are not related. That's why I created that sandbox first. So that way I can create those connections between the known systems, then I can send it. That's the only way it chain set. Whereas with the other things, I mean, there are metadata APIs that Salesforce offers, and using those, you can take the changes from Arc, you can put it to version control like GitHub or Bitbucket. From there, you can deploy the changes using Salesforce APIs to whatever the system you want. So that's the difference. And the main problem with the Arc-based deployment, let's say you are writing some flow and if you want to deploy it. So maybe if you want to make some changes the next sprint, you will not be able to do with Arc-based development. Whereas with the version control, potentially once you are done with your changes, you can put your changes into the version control. Potentially those are all XML files, and then the XML file is in the version control, so you can take it and you can deploy it. And at the same time, in the development system, you can, if you have more requirements, you can work on those. So that's where version control will give you more leverage on the deployment cycles. Yeah, I mean, I can show you some of those, but I mean, slowly we can get into those. But no, for now, at least understand that okay, there is a chain set. There is another way of deployment using metadata APIs for deployment. So those definitely, when you go to interviews, they will ask you all these questions. And so I think that's all I want to cover. Maybe we can meet again. If you have questions, we can go through those. And if you want to ask any questions ahead of time, so maybe just send me text messages in WhatsApp. I can answer those. And yeah, slowly let's try to, I mean, I want to make sure you are comfortable by doing more practice.
Sure, Srikanth, we'll come back with questions. And these things maybe later we should have some session.
Yeah. So yeah, we should meet. But before, I mean, I can go on more topics, but I think this is good enough for you to start with. I mean, with this experience, I mean, now you know where to find the documentation and all. You should be able to work on your own also. I mean, if you want to learn some new topics, but at least we should be able to comfortable with this framework concepts, basic concepts. Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Right. Sounds good.
Okay. Good night.
Yeah. Good night all. So bye. So yeah, let's see. I mean, based on your questions, if you say, okay, I have some questions, it's better for all of us to meet. I think we will try to follow the same timing if you have questions.
Sure, Srikanth.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Bye.
Thank you, Srikanth.